It's no longer about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about keeping up with the Bezoses, and no one can compete. Welcome to Old Money, a show dedicated to helping you build the trust fund you wish you were born with. Ladies who lunch, listen up. Life is not about looking rich. I want you to build a life and a legacy that feels rich in every sense of the word. If you're ready to stack cash, talk shop, and trade insider secrets, you're in the right place. These are the new rules to old money, so let's get after it. Hello, rich girls and rich guys. Welcome back to Old Money, the podcast for anyone building the trust fund they wish they were born with. I'm your host, Amber Frankhusen. Did you like that gender neutral intro? Because I have had a big revelation. There are more rich guys in the audience than I ever thought. Hello, boys. How are you? Welcome. Welcome to the party. We're so happy to have you. I have a great episode for you today. Something new, something exciting. And my gosh, just so much is going on. We have housekeeping, we have Birdie and Bogey, so much to discuss. But first, I have to start with this. When you hear this episode, it will be 2 days before the 1 year anniversary of the Old Money podcast. And I'm beyond. I'm just, number one, where did the time go? I know we all say that, it's so trite, but where did the time go? All of a sudden, we're on episode, I think like 57 or something like that. And it's been such an amazing, effortless journey with all of you over the past year of just showing up and bringing the wealthy vibes. And I want to say thank you so much. Some of you are new. Some of you are OGs. You've been here with me through it all. And I'm in such a reflection mode right now. And I really just want to say thank you so much for being on this journey with me and spending like money, spending your time, because time is a very valuable resource. And you spend time with me every week. I spend time crafting this with you and opening this dialogue with you and creating a relationship with you all. I feel so connected to all of you. I know I don't know a lot of you, but a lot of you do reach out through the DMs and emails, through the Old Money Country Club. I see you. I love you. I'm so happy that you're here. And that's what opened my eyes again. I mean, I knew that there were some rich guys in our audience, but I just didn't know how many there were. So, I'll probably slip back into rich girls because this is the podcast for women building the trust funds they wish they were born with. We got to support the girlies out there. But I'm just happy that you're all here. And I'm so grateful. Thank you. And with that, 1 year comes a lot of reflection, reevaluation, refreshing. So you'll see a few things refreshed around here in the next couple of weeks, which I'm really excited about. But also, housekeeping style, I told you that we had some housekeeping to cover. I'm really excited to share with you all that we actually have an Old Money member survey. Now, this is not just for members of the Old Money Country Club, which is our private networking community online. There is a link in the Instagram bio. There will be a link in the show notes. If you want to join, there are a couple hundred rich guys, rich girls in there who are connecting, networking, talking about making money, talking about saving money, talking about investing money, talking about their dreams of wealth, their wealthiest lives, and just kind of having that high vibe community. It's just a great thing to tap into. I love to hear from you all in there. But we're also doing, as I mentioned, this Old Money member survey. And this is for any listener of the podcast. And I thought this would be interesting to do because after a year, I'd love to know what y'all think, like what you don't like, what you want more of, what you want less of, and also to give everyone an anonymous opportunity to respond to some sensitive questions. I don't want anybody's name attached to things like how much money do you make and how much debt are you in? But y'all, I'm getting the stats and we're going to do a whole episode breaking this down, but I would love for you to participate in the Old Money survey so we can get a real clear barometer on where everybody's at and where we need to focus. So just to give you some of the examples of the questions, one of them is like, what are your financial goals? Check all that apply. And here, let me tell you the top answers. The top answers out of all of the options, I won't read them all, but the top answers are travel and experiences. I love that. Like living your rich life, right? And then investing. Also on the top is building an emergency fund, paying off debt, or saving for a big purchase like a car, a home, etc. There's more options on here, but I found that to be really interesting, that And I want to commend you, rich guys, rich girls, for really honoring yourself and wanting to live your richest life. So let's talk about travel experiences, living well. So I love that. We've got to break down in income. We've got to break down on the types of debt people are carrying and how much debt they're carrying. And it's actually pretty evenly split. So I'm excited to talk about that. We've got biggest financial challenges, but I wanted to scroll down to the end where there's a couple of questions selfishly I'm asking because I want to make this a podcast that you love to listen to. What are your favorite things about old money? What do you enjoy the most? And what are your least favorite things, or where can we improve? And like the feedback is, first of all, you're so generous. I love you all so much. There are so many warm fuzzies in this for me, and I want to say thank you so much. But some of the feedback is so helpful. Like, listen to this one. This is already resolved. Like, this problem is solved. Amazing. I love this. This person said, this is so trivial, but if you could do an earlier release time the day it comes out, that would be great. I'm commuting to work at 7 a.m. Eastern time, usually before it's released. Problem solved. I'm obsessed. We usually release the episode at 5 a.m. Pacific time because I'm in California, but like, hello, we'll just release it 5 a.m. Eastern time. So I would love to be with you on your Tuesday commute. So effective immediately for this podcast episode moving forward, it will be released at 5 a.m. Eastern time. So thank you for that feedback. That's so good. Somebody's asking, I'd love to see more guests. Yes, that is coming. We have so many good questions in here, great topics to talk about. Anyway, if you're interested in participating in the Old Money member survey, I don't know why we're calling it a member survey. It's Old Money listener survey. If you want to give your feedback, tell me about yourself anonymously. Let me know what you want to hear about because this podcast is for you. Just fill out the survey. The link is in the bio. We'll link it on Instagram stories and all that good stuff too. But my gosh, there's so much more housekeeping to get to. I'm going to hurry up so we can get to the good stuff. You're going to like today's episode. Anyway, as I was saying, if you are a YouTube person, we are on YouTube. Now, don't get too excited. It's not video just yet. But I know some of you, including my old trainer, Noah, this is for you. They're YouTube people. And I don't know, I feel like I missed that generation. I'm so not a YouTube person. I feel like that's a couple years younger than me. Tell me if I'm wrong on that. I feel like it's a younger person thing. I'm 37 for reference. Anyway, if you listen to podcasts on YouTube, you can now subscribe to Old Money Podcast on YouTube, and our episodes will automatically drop there every week on Tuesday, just like they do on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But they're also going to be on YouTube. And now, like I said, it's not a video. So the video and picture will just be the album cover, or not album cover. What do we call that? Cover art for the podcast. But it's there if that's your mechanism of choice. I want to make sure I am everywhere that you need me. That sounds so self-important. I'm sorry. But, it was a request. So let's implement it. That's what feedback is for. So thank you for that. So shout out to the survey. Shout out to YouTube. Shout out to the country club. I mentioned them earlier, but they're popping off. We had such a fun kiki for the month of July in our Old Money Money date. And we got together with some of the girlies in there and just had so much fun connecting, getting to know each other, sharing what our financial goals are, talking about what we want more of on the show, and all of those requests. Like, I want you to know I take your requests very seriously. Like, they're all implemented. So shout out to the Old Money Country Club for everybody that's in the chat, everybody that's connecting offline. And now for members in the Old Money Country Club, there's a new feature turned on where you can select the stage of your financial life that you're in so that you connect with other people who are in the same stage as you. So as you go into your profile, just your regular profile to edit your bio, you'll see there's a drop down of stages. And there can be stages like, I'm trying to start my own business, I'm growing a business, I'm learning to invest, I am growing my net worth, I'm trying to get out of debt. And once you select what stage you're in, it will show you other people who are in the same stage as you so that you can find topics that you have in common. You'll see their comments and their tags on posts. And if you want to reach out and connect with people, you can post in the chit chat area or wherever makes sense for you. Raise your hand and say, hello, this is me and this is my stage and I am open to connecting with other people. So go first, make your friends, find your next business partners, boyfriends, etc. So shout out Old Money Country Club. And a last shout out, we have to shout out Elaine Swan, y'all, was she not the cutest thing you've ever heard? I listened back to myself and I was like, who is this hysterical giggling monster? I don't know what it was, but she was so bubbly and effervescent. She had the best energy and we were just vibing on that call. We had the best time connecting and I was in such an elated mood after speaking with her. First of all, the etiquette is beyond important. I don't know what is going on in the world today, but even there's a girl that lives in my building and she also has a dog. And I talk to everybody that has a dog. You know, you're in the building, the dogs are like sniffing each other's butts and you're like, oh, sorry, excuse me, whatever. This girl who looks to be around my age, maybe a little younger, she's lived in the same building as us for years. She has literally never, not once acknowledged me. We've been in the same elevator at the same time. We've been in the same spaces at the same time. Our dogs have sniffed each other's butts. And the girl has never, not once looked up from her phone to acknowledge that I exist at all. And I'm so angry about it. And it like blows my mind. I almost can't comprehend it of just how awkward it is. It's not even that it's rude. I mean, it is rude, but it's so uncomfortable for me to continually be like, hello. And then she just ignores me. No, she is not deaf. She has all of her senses. I'm sure of it. But it's the etiquette of just like being a normal human being when you're near someone. And honestly, I've been having more and more experiences like that recently where I'm just like, what is going on out there? So Elaine was one of the first people I wanted to talk to because I truly believe, and I align with her on this so much, that having good manners and following etiquette raises people's perception of you. It's required in polite society to know how to handle yourself, to know the niceties of being a human, because it just kind of greases the wheels and makes everybody's experience better. And like she said, when you have good manners, you make other people feel good. And when you can make other people feel good, that translates into a really warm and comfortable experience for both of you. And it's just more positivity in the world. And I think that's honestly what it really comes back to. Like the higher our vibes, the better the energy, the more we attract that is goodness to us. So let's just learn to be polite. If somebody wants to forward that episode of Elaine Swan to this girl in my building, I would greatly appreciate it, except she probably will not acknowledge you either. Anyway, I'm here right now with you, reporting live from Newport Beach. I am sitting in a robe at the Lido House Hotel. It is a Marriott Bonvoy hotel, by the way. I am up here in Newport Beach because I had the opportunity to, number one, see some of my best friends and their daughters, my goddaughters. One of them I'm officially godmother to. The other one, I'm claiming her as my goddaughter as well. But the two sweetest angels. And I got to spend the afternoon picking them up from school and surprising them, which was so fun and exciting. Like, I know a lot of you are mothers and fathers and you experience this all the time, but for me to have a child see me and freak out and run into my arms, that is wealth right there. I mean, it was just so amazing. We went to the park, had dinner, we had bedtime. We read a Mary Poppins story in my best Mary Poppins voice. I loved Mary Poppins when I was a kid, and I don't know what's going on with children's books these days, but I feel like they're turning all the stories like upside down, inside out, and trying to make them super complicated and different. Why can't we just do the classics? Because I had to read this very scary chapter in a Mary Poppins book about two, and this is a quote from the book, two very large women who were very sad, and their mean old mom who broke off two of her fingers and gave them to the babies in the perambulator, not a stroller, the perambulator. And then her two fingers grew back. And I was like, what is this story? This is not the Mary Poppins that I know. So anyway, I've been on a journey and now I've landed here, walked into this hotel room, showered right away because I have no children. I have no immunity for their sneezes. And so I'm just praying that I don't get sick. But now I'm here in the Lido House Hotel in a robe with my computer. So happy to connect with you all. I'm still debating, considering it is late now, but I still might order a glass of champagne for dessert. We'll have to see. But anyway, I came up here actually not just to see them, but because I'm excited. Tomorrow I'm recording live in person for the show Life-Changing Money. What a great title, with Barbara Shreehans, and she's a tax expert. She is going to also come on Old Money, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty in the future. Watch out for that episode. I'm so excited for you all to meet her. That's going to be a good one. More guests are coming. I'm so excited. So that's why I'm here in Newport, and that's why I'm here recording with you, because there's no better time than to record an episode from a hotel room. And with all of that housekeeping out of the way, let's finally get into it. Let's start with the birdie and the bogey. If you don't play golf, it's okay. Neither do I. But just as a reminder, a birdie is a score in golf when you get one stroke under par. That's good. And a bogey is one stroke over par. That's bad. So I'm helping prime you for the country club with the right vocabulary so you can look out on the links. In this segment, I'll let you know who or what got my birdie of the week and who or what missed the mark and got a bogey. I'm so excited to tell you about my birdie. You guys, I got the best birthday present in the entire world. We talked to a pet psychic. That is correct. We leaned into the trend that I cannot escape of social media of people saying that they talk to a pet psychic and their dog says really sweet shit. And let me tell you, we talked to a dog psychic and our pet said really cute shit. Now, technically, I think he's a pet medium. However, we did this on my birthday on Zoom. Yes, you can do this on Zoom, apparently. And there was no preparation before. We didn't tell him anything about Poppy, but we did send him a picture for reference before we got started. And we were on Zoom for an hour, and Poppy sat right in between Justin and I. We were sitting on the floor with the computer in front of us. Poppy sat in between us. We did have a little bit of steak to share with her while she was there so she could be like present. But also typically she wouldn't actually like sit in between us and pay attention to the TV or the computer screen. She was very tuned into this guy. She was at attention. And just the long and short of it, I could actually spend a full hour podcast recapping everything that he said. But the long and short of it is this. I adopted Poppy from Camp Pendleton in Oceanside in 2020. She was in a cattery because they had so many animals there. They had nowhere to put her. And she had a bad reputation as a chow. She was very scared of people, so she didn't get along with anyone else. They moved all the cats out of the cattery. They put her in the cattery, which is basically just an outside fenced in with a fence on the roof so the cats can't escape, next to the airfield on this military base. And she told this pet medium that before I adopted her, her life was in black and white. She was hot, she was tired, she was parched, she was lonely, she felt abandoned, and her world was in black and white. And when I adopted her, it basically turned into Technicolor. But she knew all along that she was destined for the good life. So she wasn't even surprised. She just said, there you are, take me away. So basically my dog is the Princess of Genovia, and she's always known it. And I love that for her. And there's obviously like, that's very general stuff. Like, okay, you adopted a pet, I get it, yada, yada. But he did get a lot of really specific things right, including like kind of the circumstances of when I met her. Justin, who was absolutely a skeptic at first, was totally taking over the entire conversation, asking all of the questions, because as soon as he was like, oh, this is kind of like legit, Justin asked really good questions. And then the guy was telling him the specifics of Justin and Poppy's relationship that was so on point. And when I first met Justin, Poppy was definitely not interested in him, so much so that she ignored him, farted on him, growled at him, she was not very nice to him. And she told the pet medium that at first there was a lot of question marks around Justin. She wasn't sure if he was going to stick around, which Poppy, that kind of makes me sound like a floozy. And like, quite frankly, like you didn't know me that long beforehand. So lay off the judgment. Anyway, she said, I don't know if I have to deal with this guy, but he's moving into my territory. And then there was like a big change in their relationship, which there was at one point, I think after Justin had an injury. And I think like the energy kind of changed between them, and she was kind of looking out for him and was more tender to him. And so we're going through the history of their relationship, and Justin said, well, what does she think about me now? And the medium's on Zoom, right? Poppy's sitting right in between us, and she's looking at the guy on the TV. And our dog is not the type of dog that watches TV. And by TV, I mean computer screen, but you know what I mean. And the medium has his eyes closed, and he's channeling her, right? I guess talking to her. And he says, well, Poppy wants you to know that now she accepts you and she loves you so very much. And out of the blue, Poppy leans over and kisses Justin right on the nose twice. And when I tell you my dog does not give up kisses very easily, Justin and I both looked at each other and were absolutely gobsmacked, shocked. I burst into tears. I couldn't help myself. It was the most special experience of my entire life. I have so much more I could say about it, but I highly recommend if you are a crazy cat lady, dog lady like I am, I would highly recommend that you check out our medium. His name is Michael Burke, and he's on Instagram at Michael Burke Official. I give him 2 very big thumbs up. Poppy loved him. I feel so much more connected to her. Honestly, I've never had a better gift in my entire life. And also, she said the funniest stuff about how Justin and I are always fighting over the thermostat, which we are. She also requested that I turn on the humidifier for her because she would like it to be a little bit more humid in the house. And I had noticed that her nose had been getting dry. And sure enough, I turned on the humidifier for a few nights and your girl's nose is wet again. So Michael Burke Official, my absolute birdie of my life. Longtime listeners of the podcast know I'm obsessed with a few things: luxury, design, and my dog. I don't think you understand. I live for my dog Poppy, and giving her the richest life possible is why I'm working so hard. And to help me give Poppy the best life ever, I'm proud to introduce you to the sponsor of today's show, Le Dog. This brand is the perfect intersection of all the things I love: luxury, design, function, quality, and style. But don't take it from me. Le Dog has been featured in New York Times, on NBC, in Vice, Harper's Bazaar, and the Le Poop bag was named as the best pet parent gift by Women's Health. And I have to say, I agree. They're known for Le Bed, a stunning leather dog bed. It's odor and hair resistant, hypoallergenic, super easy to clean, durable, and has a cooling gel memory foam to help our pups regulate their temp, and a 6-inch orthopedic mattress to support their bones and joints. There's also the Le Mat, which is like the Le Bed's little sister. It's just super easy to roll up and travel with. And then there's my favorite, the Le Walk collection. It is iconic. We've been using the long line leash. It's a beautiful cognac leather. Poppy looks so good in it. And I wrap it around myself for a hands-free walk, which is great for multitasking. And of course, Poppy has the coordinating collar and Le Poop bag because, duh. I love companies that are committed to creating quality products that look good and last. That is a tenet of the Old Money shopping philosophy. The founder, Kristen, is a rich girl in our Old Money community. Her company is female-founded and Canadian-owned and operated. She designs and manufactures all of her own products. And this is the best part for me. She's also established a charitable initiative, so every purchase helps a dog in need. And the best news ever? She has generously offered 20% off site-wide for all listeners of Old Money with the code OMCC20. That's OMCC20, like Old Money Country Club, for 20% off site-wide at ledogcompany.com. The site is spelled LEDOG company.com. Use code OMCC20 for 20% off everything on the site. You can find more details in the show notes or on our website. And please, 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 tag me in your Old Money pups on Instagram. We want to see your dog living their richest life ever. However, the bogey of my life is that I feel like I'm not summering well enough. As you know, I will always reference Carol Razadwill of Real Housewives of New York, who said, I only have 5 good summers left. And I just am so conscientious of summer as such a precious, precious resource. However, I'm just starting to judge myself for not summering well enough. And maybe it's because in San Diego, if you live there, if you live anywhere coastal, you get a little bit of that June gloom, May gray BS. And this year, our weather has been better. But for me, summer really means lack of a schedule, going to the beach, taking it easy. And I haven't really done any summer activities except for overindulging in Hugo spritzes. But I'm very much still in my all year round routine. Like nothing's changed. And so I've recognized that if I want it to feel like summer, I need to make changes to make it feel like summer. So I was thinking about this on the drive up here today. Like, I need to go to the beach. I don't know why it's so hard to live in San Diego and go to the beach. I lived right by the sand for 10 years, could walk to the beach in no shoes, which was an absolute honor and just such a beautiful way to live. But now it's like packing the car, driving out there, getting parking. That just feels treacherous to me. So I've been avoiding it. And also, I recognize that that's lazy. I mentioned I've been having Hugo Spritzes. Have we talked about the Hugo Spritz? Because it is the drink of the summer. Discovered this in Italy. I know I'm not the first to discover it. I'm very late to the game, but it seems to be trending this year. A Hugo Spritz is, in my opinion, far superior to the ever popular Aperol Spritz. Aperol Spritz to me tastes like cough medicine. It's very bitter. And a Hugo Spritz is Prosecco, Saint Germain, which is like an elderflower liqueur, a bit of soda water on top, and then a lemon squeeze and some mint. Or I even had it recently with a little sprig of rosemary, which was also very herbaceous and beautiful. My point is I need to mix it up. And I just haven't figured out how to do that yet because with all the demands of work and we have so many big projects right now, I feel like I've been chained to my desk and I need to get out of that routine. So if anyone has any ways for me to very easily turn on summer mode in my life, I welcome them. I got some good book recommendations tonight, so I'm going to get back into reading, but I'd love to know what's making your summer feel good. Like, what are you doing that makes it feel different? And I know a lot of you have kids, and so the school schedule is different and the kids are home more, and that changes. They're at camps and doing things and just outdoors more. I feel like I need to tap into the community and do like, I don't know, a concert outdoors or something, but that's not happening by us anyway. Maybe I just need to dine al fresco more often. But I think one of the reasons why I've been feeling this way is because it feels like everybody and their mother is in the Hamptons, and I feel like I should be there. I've never been to the Hamptons. I've not even spent a lot of time in New York, but it feels like everybody's there, and I'm actually having FOMO. I'd love to be in a big shingled house with a wide porch, a pool in the backyard surrounded by grass, sipping something while the barbecue's on, floating around with a Us Weekly and going inside when the bugs get too bad. Like that is what feels phenomenal to me. And with that being said, I also want to escape all of this news that's in the news cycle right now. And I feel like I would do that in the Hamptons. I don't know. So anyway, this dovetails into today's episode, which is a brand new format, a brand new concept. And it's inspired by two girly swirlies that are currently in the Hamptons. If you understand the swirly reference, you know that I'm talking about La Turd and Jackie O, otherwise known as Jackie and Claudia Oshry of The Toast. They do a daily podcast about pop culture, and they do the Fast Five stories. And I'm definitely not going to bite their style because how dare I? However, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking if I were in the Hamptons with them, I would turn off the news. Actually, the news has been turned off in my house, in my brain, in my life, on my phone. It's been phenomenal. But, tune out from all of the politics. I'd be reading an Us Weekly. I'd be gossiping with all of the menches and the wenches. Like, just can you imagine me and Jill Zarin at her luxury luncheon just talking about who we saw at the Surf Lodge this weekend? And so it drove me to explore something that I don't tap into that often, the New York Post, page 6, which is the mecca of gossip. And in this mecca of gossip, I uncovered 6 stories, not 5, but 6 very specific stories, all having to do with being rich. So inspired by and in honor of the Toast girlies who do the Fast Five, today I present to you the Rich 6. That's right. I've got 6 pieces of gossip, 6 stories, 6 things to talk about. They span the spectrum, but they all have to do with wealthy people and wealthy people shit. And we've got a lot of really interesting stuff to cover. So I'm going to start with the bummer one first because I do think it's a very interesting topic to discuss. And it also has to do with the Hamptons. Again, so trigger warning, there was somebody in the Hamptons named Brandon Miller. Unfortunately, it was found unalived this last weekend in his garage of his $8 million watermill home, leaving behind his social influencer wife, Candice Miller, and their 2 little girls. This is very tragic, but it does have an important lesson that we need to discuss. So this is not just gossip for the sake of gossip. There is a lesson here. Brandon was 43 and he was a principal partner at a real estate equity corporation. Actually, that's what it was called, Real Estate Equity Corporation. And his wife, Candice, was a founder of a lifestyle and mommy blog called Mama and Tata. She was all over socials. She's been a huge blogger and she's super prominent of this like Hamptons lifestyle. She's big in the Hamptons social scene. She's beautiful. He's beautiful. They're a picture perfect couple. And unfortunately, Brandon was thought to be in about $17 million of debt at the time of his death. And the New York Post, who is famous for their attention-grabbing headlines, which I'm going to steal for this episode, they put it perfectly. It's no longer about keeping up with the Joneses. It's about keeping up with the Bezoses, and no one can compete. And this is something that is so common amongst every social class, every age group. But now, especially in this day and age where everybody's wealth is so conspicuous and there's such a scene, especially when you are showcasing it on social media, and that's part of your brand, is showing off how fabulous your life is. I can only imagine what type of pressure that brings to continue to deliver the goods. Like if all of your friends, Lauren Bostic, Morgan Stewart, they're all on yachts right now in the Mediterranean. So if you want to roll in those circles and show up like that, you got to figure out how to get on a yacht in the Mediterranean, right? And listen, there's no blame here, no judgment. I'm just showcasing what's in this article. But the article does highlight, and I do remember seeing this online and on her blog, a lot of her content is around how lavishly she lives. She would brag about weekly $800 facials, her membership at the Tracy Anderson exercise studio. We talked about that in one of the very early episodes about how outrageous and competitive and expensive it is to work out there. She would throw $100,000 parties, spared no expense. She would also talk about flying private. And as this article puts it, while money was flowing out of the Millers' hands like water, it was slowly coming in, allegedly due to the questionable business dealings and lawsuits that were piling up. So I don't want to get into that too much and really disgrace this couple, but I want to say this. If you find yourself in a position where you feel like you're keeping up with the Joneses, how do you get out of that situation? Well, I feel like that could be its whole own episode, which maybe it will be. But I wanted to share a story that had me thinking about this because I've been thinking about this couple a lot. This is a very tragic story. And I want to share something that I heard while I was driving up here today. I was listening to Cathy Heller. I'm a big Cathy Heller fan. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but my friend Priya sent me to her podcast summit in LA a few months ago. Remember when I was staying at the One Hotel? I was there to see Cathy Heller, and I'm listening through a course that she's doing about podcasting. And I want to tell you the story, and this is what made me think of it. Long story short, she's at this podcast conference herself, and she walks into this hotel lobby where the conference is. Everybody has these lanyards are, and she can feel the energy in the room, and it is frenetic. Everybody is freaking out, like energy's high, people are tense, it feels weird. So she says to her friend who was at this conference before, like, what is going on in this room? And then the friend says, it does feel very weird in here because everybody's here trying to meet one person. Everybody has their head on a swivel. They're looking for one person. Everybody's trying to meet the same person. She says, who? She says, well, apparently the head of Apple Podcasts is here at this conference. And if you meet him and you connect with him, he can change the trajectory of your podcast. So Cathy's like, okay, cool. But this energy, this feels crazy. This feels like vultures. This feels bad. I'm going to remove myself. I don't like this vibe. And I actually feel very sensitive to that as well. Sidebar of this sidebar story. But in the building industry for home builders and, in real estate development, there's this thing called Meet the Builder. And literally all of these different home builders line up at different tables and they stand there, and all of the quote unquote tradespeople or service people stand in line at these tables to introduce themselves to the builders to say, hi, my name's Joe and I do electric. Hey, my name's Jane. I do finish carpentry. Hey, my name's John and I do plumbing or whatever. And you just like transact at this table and give business cards. And the first time I went to this, I was like, this feels so inauthentic and weird. And I'm never going to make a good connection with somebody about brand and storytelling and environment at a table like this. So this is not for me. And I left, even though I had paid to sponsor the event. Anyway, Cathy Heller tells in the story that I'm listening to while I'm driving up here in her podcast course, which I highly recommend, by the way. She says, I couldn't stand the energy of this lobby, so I left. I went to this connecting hotel. It was quiet. It was amazing. She sits down, she orders an iced tea. And she sees a couple tables over, there's another person sitting there that also has a lanyard on. She goes, oh, they say like, oh, you guys are, you're here at the same conference. She's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, where are you from? She's like, I'm from here. I'm from LA. Where are you from? The guy's from Chicago. She goes, oh, my husband, his family owns a bagel shop. Do you know this bagel shop? They get to talking, they're chit-chatting or whatever. And they have a just very normal human kind of conversation for 45 minutes, just chatting, connecting over the fact that the energy in the other room was so frenetic. And he said, I've really enjoyed meeting you tonight. Would you be interested in catching up again, grabbing dinner? And she says, yeah, that'd be great. He goes, cool, let me give you my card. And she grabs the card and, nice to meet you. My name's so-and-so. And he hands her the card, and the card is an Apple card. And she had been talking to the one person that everybody else in that other room was trying to meet, trying to look out for, trying to impress. And she was being normal. And she was talking about this in the case of like her life is synchronicities, and just being present and open and following what feels good to you will lead you exactly where you need to be, which I believe in so, so much. But my takeaway from this is, what did Kathy do to impress this person? Was she wearing an Hermes belt and carrying a Fendi bag? Did she have the best podcast art? Did she have the most expensive editing process? Did she have the best blowout? Did she have the best makeup application? Her glam was on point? No. She was being human. She was being normal. She was connecting with this person as a human. And that is what made such an impression on him. And that is the thing that got her invited to dinner. And then, as she tells it, got her invited to the Apple headquarters in LA, and then got her invited to New York with Apple to speak at the podcast upfronts, which led her to get her podcast featured on the Apple podcast charts forever and ever. And it blew up her podcast, and it was the best thing that ever changed her life. But I had to think about that of, isn't it so funny that the things that matter the most have nothing to do with what we spend our money on? It has everything to do with who we are being as people. Now, I do really, truly believe money is a tool that allows us to self-express and to create and to have the opportunities to do things like start a podcast. If you're scraping by trying to make ends meet and rent and working 3 jobs to pay your bills, you probably don't have a lot of creative energy. I totally understand that. So that is why I'm a proponent of making money, because I believe that when we have the resource of money, we are best able to fully embody our gifts and our truths and our create impact and make something beautiful in this world. And nothing about having that money is what makes you a good person. Being a good person is what brings the value that allows you to connect with the people that you want to be friends with. Because if I ever sat next to Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez in a hotel lobby, I wouldn't be like, hey, Jeff, nice watch. Look at mine. Isn't it cool? I spent a lot of money on it. I would be a human, and I would talk to them about the things that humans care about, like travel, food, experiences, wine, family, relationships, laughter, our interests, things like that. So while I digress. We'll go back to how to avoid keeping up with the Joneses, but what a tragic story, and wishing so much comfort on this family as they navigate a tough time in the Hamptons. I know that was a bummer, but you knew there was a lesson in there, right? I'm going to change the tune a little bit. We're still going to stay in the Hamptons, but we're going to pivot to story number 2, another one from page 6. Newly single Kelly Bensimon says she's, quote, better off after calling off wedding, but is, quote, extremely disappointed. I talked a little bit about this on my Instagram stories for Old Money Podcast. If you do not know who Kelly Bensimon is, my goodness, what a treat you're in for. Kelly Bensimon is absolutely famous for having a mental breakdown on Scary Island, aka St. Bart's. I think they were in St. Bart's, on The Real Housewives of New York. My God, what a moment that was. Kelly Bensimon is a model. She has 2 daughters. She's beautiful. She's a little wacky. And quite frankly, she's one of my least favorite people to watch on reality TV because she's just so out of pocket and chaotic and unpredictable. But I talked about this on the Instagram story when it broke, because she broke off her engagement 4 days before her wedding due to the fact that her, according to the report, fiance would not sign a prenup. And I really, number one, I have to say, generally speaking, I really applaud this, because Kelly was a successful model and she's now a successful real estate agent in New York. Believe it or not, she's actually doing quite well. I've been tracking her sales and listings, interestingly. That's my hobby. And the Bensimon, her name is Kelly Kaloran Bensimon, KKB. Bensimon in her name comes from her previous husband, from which she has two daughters, who's a famous fashion photographer. I think they met while she was modeling or something of the sort. Anyway, she was looking out for her daughters, as she reported, and wanted to make sure that her assets were protected, and she couldn't come to an agreement with her soon-to-be husband. Now, my first reaction, as I said, I applaud this, like stick to your guns, protect your assets by all means. But I also have to wonder, in my Carrie Bradshaw way, why was this not settled 4 days before the wedding? How could that be? For me, going into a marriage, and please go back and listen to the prenup playbook. My episode with Natalie Goldberg, it was so good. She is such a spitfire, and we had such a good conversation about what a prenup is, how to navigate it, etc. But you want to make sure that you protect yourself when you're going into a business arrangement. And I would think that would be, especially for people with assets, massive assets coming into the relationship, something you'd want to sort out sooner. Now, her ex-fiance was, or is rather, in finance. Maybe he's 6'5", maybe he has blue eyes. I have no idea, but he's in finance in some capacity. And for all intents and purposes, looks like he does very well for himself as well. And so it's interesting. It's like, okay, what you would wonder, why would this guy not want to sign a prenup? That's so interesting. And then I thought more about it, and knowing what we know about Kelly, and please sound off in the comments if you've watched any of Real Housewives of New York, I don't know if she created good terms. Like, I thought about it more, right? Like, is her idea of a good prenup something along the lines of, if we get divorced, husband to be, you have to pay me an exorbitant amount of money every single month? And he refused to sign that, because I would refuse to sign that. Or was the prenup reasonable of, when we divorce, if we divorce, then what is mine and what is yours. She's stating that her daughters are her priority, but I don't know. You never know what happens behind closed doors. So again, I don't have any judgment of this situation, except for the fact that very curious that it was only happening 4 days, or not settled rather, 4 days before the whole marriage. I would think you would need to get that dialed before you start picking out place settings and stuff. But that's just me. And also, there's two sides to every story. So I think especially when it's a pro-woman headline, which this is, and I want to say, yes, I totally co-sign, get your coin protected if you're going into a marriage, and protect your kids and all that kind of stuff. However, knowing what we know about this woman as a character on television, and I get it, that's a character on television, I have to wonder, what were the terms that he refused to sign? So the thing is, this guy's private. He's a normal civilian. He's never been on Housewives before. I doubt we'll ever hear his side, but gosh, wouldn't that be interesting to know like what the terms of people's prenups are? I'd love to read some celebrity prenups to get some, I don't want to say inspiration, but some reference points of like what people are asking for, what the terms are. I think it's so fascinating. There is nothing more important. There's no bigger business decision that you will make in your life than who you marry. So you better either make a great choice or put some protections in place so that you control your life and your outcome, and you don't let the law dictate it for you. Very interesting stuff. Story number 3. It's another housewife story, but do not turn off. And by the way, that's some of the feedback that we had in the survey. I hear you, not everybody is a Housewives fan. However, trying to make this, global and, broad interest here. So we're not just talking about housewives, we're talking about prenups. And we're also talking about vouching for a friend. Now, if anybody's watching Real Housewives of Orange County, you have seen on this season, this article, story number 3, is all about the drama playing out on Real Housewives of Orange County between Jen Padranti and Gina, whatever her last name is. I have opinions because this is what happens when you vouch for a friend and you go for a quick buck. You might think that I'm on Gina's side. You would be wrong. If you have not watched this episode, what is happening is that Jen, who's a newbie on the show, she's recently divorced and she's dating a sleazebag. This sleazebag also, sidebar, happens to be involved in the Shohei Ohtani gambling scheme something about he accidentally got $17 million deposited to his bank account. He's a known philanderer. He's a known adulterer. He's not a good guy. So she's shacking up with this guy, but she needed to move into a house, and she has 4 children, by the way. Gina, who's a newly minted real estate agent in the Orange County area, she tries to help her friend Jen get into a rental. As a real estate agent, you get commission not just for selling or buying homes for your clients, but helping them find rentals or helping your clients rent out their homes. So Gina, trying to help out her friend Jen, says, let me be your agent. I'll help you get into a rental, which is great. That's her job. I want to remind everyone here that I've been a licensed real estate agent since 2011. I think my license is currently lapsed. I need to take my continuing education courses, but I feel very passionate on this topic. What Gina did is she helped Jen find a rental that met her needs. What she did is she found her a house and she put her in it. But what she did not do is follow the very standard procedures of checking a renter's rental history, income, and credit to make sure that they are qualified for said home. Instead, Gina, quote unquote, vouched for Jen and said to the people renting the home, "She's my friend. She's good for it," in her horrible Staten Island accent. And what happened? Jen didn't pay her rent. Jen didn't pay her rent and she got evicted from the home. So Gina is mad at Jen because Gina's saying, "I helped you get that home. This looks terrible on me. I'm a new agent. You should pay your bills." But who's really in the wrong here? Because in my opinion, if you do anything to make it easier for somebody to get into the house and you do not follow the standard credit check, income verification, rental history check, you are going after a quick buck. And there is no reason why you wouldn't run those 3 checks to make sure that this person is qualified income-wise or in their bank account to be able to pay for the home that you're putting them in, because you have a fiduciary duty to the owner of the home, the renter of the home, to make sure that they are allowing somebody to move in that's not going to put them out money. Because now that Jen didn't pay the rent, the homeowner has to lose the income on the months that she didn't pay. And then also you have to pay all the fees to get them evicted. You have to clean the home, tidy the home after they move out, and then you have to spend money on re-renting it. So Gina's been yelling up and down about how irresponsible Jen is for not paying her bills. You have 4 children. And meanwhile, Gina, you should not be putting people in a home when you do not do the proper verification. I worked in property management for way too long for this to fly for me. And quite frankly, I think Gina's being an absolute monster. So, as I like to say, contracts keep friends. And so do standard operating procedures, like making sure that the people that you rent a home or sell a home to can actually afford it. And quite frankly, I think Gina trampled her own reputation. So although I also don't agree with Jen not paying her rent, I'm not saying that's okay, I'm definitely saying that Gina holds a lot of culpability and should be taking responsibility for her own actions before putting it all on Jen. There's a lesson here too. Please don't vouch for your friends. Please do things the right way. And don't go after something for a quick buck, because you know Gina made a commission on that and she gets to keep that commission, and those homeowners are out the money. And quite frankly, I would be pretty pissed about that too. So sorry, Gina, but this one's on you. We're moving off the housewives train. We're going to story number 4. I don't like this headline, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. The headline reads, "Wealthy people at greater risk of cancer than the rest of us." Study. No, thank you. Here's the study. They did a study on people in Finland examining the relationship between socioeconomic status, or SES as they call it, and an array of diseases. They say in their study that those privileged to enjoy elevated SES, socioeconomic status, are at a heightened genetic risk for breast, prostate, and other types of cancer. That's a major bummer. And they said, conversely, those less affluent are generally more susceptible to diabetes and arthritis, along with depression, alcoholism, and lung cancer. This study polled Finnish people. They polled 280,000 of Finnish people aged 35 to 80, and they polled their socioeconomic status, their health data, and their genome. So they got really interesting information in here. But while they found correlation, I don't think they've found causation. I thought that was really interesting. So, for example, they pointed out further work could be done to fully understand the links between specific professions and disease risk. Like that makes sense. Let's say you're a janitor and you're using really high concentrated Roundup or bleach or cleaner and you're inhaling those fumes all the time, then that's probably going to contribute to that lung cancer risk, right? Or maybe things like alcoholism and diabetes that are more prone to lower income people. I'm wondering, like, maybe they're killing off those people first before they can develop things like cancers that they mentioned. And so maybe people that have a higher socioeconomic status are living longer, but dying from things that those other people would have died from if they didn't die from diabetes and lung cancer and alcoholism and depression. Do you know what I'm saying? So really interesting. But again, it doesn't really prove anything. It doesn't tell us anything. It's just a story of another way to vilify rich people. Because as you notice, New York Post, I told you, they're big on their headlines. Wealthy people are at greater risk of cancer than the rest of us. And I bet there's a lot of people out there being like, ha ha, wealthy people, see, life's not so good for you. But there's also the second sentence of the story that says, here's the diseases that people with a lower socioeconomic status get. So interesting check-in. If you had a reaction like that, let us remember that wealthy people are not evil. They're just people, and we all have problems. Actually, interestingly enough, just a sidebar, I have so much tea to spill on some of my friends who come from old money families, not on my friends, but mostly on their families. And the tea that I have is like Gossip Girl is real. There are families where there are Blair Waldorfs, there are Chuck Basses, and they are doing some really naughty shit. And I wish I could talk about it, but I can't because it's private information. I just want to say old money families, y'all, they don't have it all figured out. In fact, it's often a lot messier than it looks from the outside. But then again, I also have some good tea from like the Montecito Country Club that maybe I can share soon. But I also got this great DM on Old Money. I'm going to pull it up really quick and read it to you. I'll keep the name private, but listen to this. This is from somebody. Oh, I'm not going to say their name. Shh, I won't tell you. She says, "Hi, Amber. I found your podcast a while ago and I've been going through and back through episodes as I find things I love. Many of your points hit home. My friends joke that I'm old money by the way I talk or the experience I have had. But the secret they don't know is that we were. You talk about squandering of generational wealth at the third generation. Ours was at the fourth and fifth. I'm the sixth." And she puts the little whisper emoji. I'm dead. "My great-grandparents had all of these financial rules, and I used to hear about them at the dinner table. When I listen to your podcast, I am taken back to that table, sending so much love and can't wait to keep listening." I'm obsessed beyond with this message. And I'm not going to shout you out. I'm going to keep your identity private since your friends don't know. But what a gem you are for honoring your grandparents in that way, building wealth back and honoring them with the great financial rules that you learned. And I would be so happy to have you at a dinner table and hear all of your stories. And thank you so much for listening to the podcast. So a secret shout out to you. Anyway, back to how rich people die. Well, the thing is, we all die at the end, and no amount of money is going to save you. Even if you're that crazy biohacker guy that's like swapping blood with his son, we can talk about that later. But we all end up in the same place at the end. Story number 5 of the day. I love this one. This comes from a divorce lawyer. He's claiming he knows the 2 main reasons people get divorced. His name is James Sexton. He's a world-renowned family lawyer based in New York City, and he's revealed the 2 main reasons why people get divorced. Now, before I tell you, take a second to think. What do you think the 2 main reasons are? 3, 2, 1. I'm going to tell you they are infidelity and money, according to this guy. I don't know if that's an actual stat, but he explained that with infidelity, while cheating is often involved, it's usually just a component of a very broken relationship, and therefore blaming a divorce on cheating is an oversimplification, which I think is really, really true. I mean, if you are at the point of cheating, there's a lot more going on, like keeping secrets, distance, not closeness, all that stuff. But he says this, let me know what you think about this. Sexton claimed that a lack of sex typically leads to infidelity, noting that, quote, men want more quantity sex, women want more quality. I think that, James, is a gross oversimplification of just a lack of sex leads to infidelity. I think, again, that's a component. He says it's the same reason porn is more popular with men than women because men just want to get the job done. Now, I do think biologically that's very true. But I also think that if there's infidelity, there's a lot more going on under the surface than just I need sex and need to get it done. But he also states that the nuances of money in marriages also has a lot to do with what causes relationships to unravel, because he says money has a lot to do with power. Money is about control. Money is about opportunity, security, a whole bunch of things, but it's not really about money. Now, that can be true. And maybe they do things differently in New York. And while that's a component, again, James, respectfully, I think it's an oversimplification because I think money causes a lot of problems, like the first story we were listening to here of what are the values of the couple? Where is the money coming? Where is it going? What are we doing with it? How do we spend it? Are we in partnership? Are we in alignment? Are we working towards our goals as a couple, as individuals? How do we discuss it? Is there fear? Is there chaos? Is there hiding, secrets, lies? I really, really believe that money is something that is so emotional. I hate it when people say money's not emotional. Money is emotional. So much of our identity and our opportunities, our outlook on the future has to do with money. And the way that we interact with it has to do with our emotions. Money influences our emotions. Our emotions influence how we react and respond to money. So the goal that we're talking about here at Old Money is calming that financial fight or flight, getting to a place of neutrality with money where it's a tool that you use, where it's not something that you're desperately dependent on, that you're working so hard for, that it flows to you more freely, that you create conduits for it to flow to you and through you, because it doesn't just come to you, it comes through you and then you spend it, you recycle it, you save it, you invest it, you give it back out, you give a tip to the person that parks your car, whatever it might be. And I think that there's a lifelong lesson to be learned with money of how to use it, how to, play with that energy, what it means, how to adapt to it when you get more of it, how to spend more of it, invest more, all the things. It's a lifelong thing. And I think it's something that's very vulnerable for a lot of people. And that's part of the reason why Old Money Podcast exists. So we can talk about it more and talk about it more freely and get more comfortable with it, feel empowered around it instead of scared by it. And my job is to do the research to make us all a little bit more dangerous with what we're doing with our money so that we feel really good about what we're doing with it, where it's going, and how we relate to it. And I think this is actually one of the reasons why I've been but addressing the men in the room so much this episode, because gosh, as we walk through this life with partners, if you're in a heterosexual relationship and you're a woman listening to this podcast, we all have got to go on this journey together. It's not just us. We can't be the only ones on this journey of learning how to play with money. So according to this James guy, he says that the reasons people get divorced is because of a lack of sex and because of power dynamics with money. And again, while I think that's definitely part of it, I definitely think there's a lot of nuance to it here. Anyway, a couple more facts from the article. It says that marriages have been on the rise while legal breakups have been dwindling since wedding and wedding dates were put on pause during the pandemic. An apparent silver lining to the long lockdowns, the marriage rate is still low compared to the past 2 decades when the number of marriages stayed around 7 to 8 per 1,000 people per year. But it comes as divorces continued on a downward trend. The divorce rate in the year 2000 was 4 per 1,000 people a year. And in 2022, it was 2.4 per 1,000 people per year. Experts suggest the rise is due to more than the end of lockdowns, explaining that the hardships of the pandemic and current societal trends have changed how people enter into and handle relationships, as they should. Very important business decision. Who you marry is the most important business decision you will ever make in your life. So choose wisely or get a prenup. The last story of the day as we wrap it up here, this is the one you wanted to know. This is the one that's going to make you sound really impressive. The most important week of the summer has just wrapped up in Sun Valley. It's called the Secret Summer Camp for Billionaires. And everybody who's anybody is there. Sun Valley, Idaho is hosting all of the wealthiest people in the world, including Jeff and Lauren Sanchez. Oh, do you like how I just got rid of the Bezos and gave him his fiance's name? Sherry Redstone, Barry Diller, the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Energy, all the media gurus, Diane von Furstenberg's rocking around. Everybody who's anybody is there. This secret summer camp for billionaires. This is a very private, secret event that's put on by Allen & Co. It's the Allen & Co. Sun Valley Conference. It's held annually the week after July 4th. It's been going on for decades. Now, what happens at summer camp for billionaires, I have no idea, and neither does anyone else really, because even though some of the richest, most powerful leaders in business, media, and politics fly in for it every single year, the summit's agenda and lecture topics are kept secret. And reporters who attend have to stay off the record so that the one percenters can mingle and speak freely as they walk around and gossip and make multi-billion-dollar deals. In fact, this is the place that's been reported to be where Jeff Bezos decided to buy the Washington Post and where Comcast and NBC Universal came together to make their partnership. This is what Warren Buffett, who's actually absent from this year, he's usually attending, but he's old now. I think he's like 94, so maybe he should stay home. He's probably still mourning the loss of Charlie Munger, as we all are. R.I.P. Charlie. But anyway, Warren Buffett refers to Sun Valley as ABWA, or acquisitions by walking around. Think about this. If you're in business and you want to grow your business, one of the fastest way to do that is to acquire another business, buy another business. It's very common. Mergers and acquisitions are very big. So if you are interested in mixing and mingling with other people who are decision makers, instead of trying to send a cold email to Jeff, wouldn't it be nice if you just got to go to Sun Valley and have a drink with him? This is where everybody is in the month of July. We've got Sam Altman, the AI kingpin, Bob Iger from Disney, Tim Cook from Apple, the Zuck is there from Facebook, Sundar from Google is there. We've got Rupert Murdoch, Oprah Winfrey. I mean, the list goes on and on. And it's a reminder that if you want things to happen in your life, half the work is just getting in the room. Half the work is just answering the damn phone. Going back to Elaine Swan, I'm sorry, I'm obsessed with Elaine Swan. Can we talk about how Gen Z and Gen Alpha are literally afraid to talk on the phone? There is a guy on TikTok, and I'm sure it's a hoax because I think he's like a comedy TikTok, but he does this thing, I saw it months ago, where he's like calling the dentist office to make an appointment, and his mom's there helping him talk to the receptionist to say, can I get an appointment to clean my teeth? Oh, I don't know when. And he's like freaking out. He's incapable of making an appointment. And that is an embarrassment. We needed to get back on the phone. Make America answer the phone again, because I'm trying to make sales calls and nobody answers the gosh dang phone. And today, as I was driving up here, pulling into Orange County, I got a phone call. I answered it on my Google Voice line. I don't know who it is. It must be for business. So I answer it. And it's a cold call. And I decided to talk to this person because I had time. And I said, "Who are you? What are you selling? How can I help you?" And I'm talking to this person. They're from San Diego. We have a ton in common. This person's probably going to be a great business contact. And he actually verbalized that. He said, "Wow, it sounds like we would be good contacts for one another. We should probably keep in touch." I said, "Hey, I'm in Orange County. Send me an email. I will follow up with you. I will be meeting this person soon." And this person just cold called me. And it was a good cold call. And that's going to be somebody's podcast that I go on in the next couple of weeks. I'll update you when we book it. But my point is this. If you want to participate in capitalism, in building something, in collaborating, we can go so much further with people, with team members, with support, with partners than we can go alone. We can go farther together than we go alone, and we can go there faster. So if you want to achieve your goals, if you want to acquire a business, merge your business with another one, get in the room. I don't know if you can get to the Sun Valley, Idaho 4th of July conference by Allen & Co. Please get me an invite. I would love to go. But that's where it happens. That's where the billionaires are. That's where the millionaires are. And maybe that's not the right venue for me at this moment. If we're being completely honest, I don't think Jeff Bezos wants to acquire AF Marketing. But if you do, Jeff, call me. We can talk. We'll figure something out. My point is this. if you want to go somewhere in life, you have to get in the room with other people. You have to pick up the phone. You have to answer the phone. You have to make the phone call. You have to go to the place. Go put yourself in the room. I am going to a really incredible conference in Phoenix, Arizona, the second or third week of August. This is not an ad. I don't have anything to do with this company or this person. It's called Powerhouse Women. I would love to know if any of you are going. I'm actually really looking forward to it. A couple of my friends are going to be there. I'm truly looking forward to this opportunity because it's just, I don't have any business outcomes that I need from it. I'm not looking for clients. I'm not looking for anything. I'm just looking to have a good time, dive into personal development with a bunch of women who are also interested in building businesses, building podcasts, building better lives for themselves, just self-developing, doing it together. So I'll be there. And that's going to be my Sun Valley this year. So I'm looking forward to that. And now that I think about it, it's going to be extremely hot there. So I bet that will feel like summer. Speaking of making my summer a summer. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Rich guys, rich girls, rich girls, rich guys. Thank you so much for being here with me on the Old Money Podcast. Thank you for making it with me for a freaking year. Can you believe it? And let me know what you think. Take the survey, subscribe to us on YouTube. If you are not yet subscribed to this podcast on Spotify or Apple's podcasts, and you're just like looking me up every week, I know about 1,500 of you are doing that. Please press subscribe so that Old Money Podcast automatically downloads to your phone every Tuesday so you never miss an episode. Stay tuned for some upcoming giveaways, contests, exciting things to come. I love you so much. Tell me what you think about the Rich Six, if I should do this again. I thought this was really fun. Anyway, it's now too late for a glass of champagne, so I think I'm going to go to bed and get a good night's sleep. But I love you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Feeling rich? I hope so. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Old Money. If you have questions you want answered, email me at oldmoneypodcast@gmail.com or hit us up on social. We are at Old Money Podcast, and I am at your service. If this episode spoke to you, inspired you, helped you, if you took a single note, it would mean the world to me if you could please just take a minute to rate and review the podcast. And if you're not doing so already, subscribe. And if you have friends who like getting rich, please share this episode with them, even if it's just on your Instagram story. And I'd love you more than Jeff Bezos loves Amazon Prime. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Remember, I'm not your lawyer, I'm not your tax professional, and I'm not your financial advisor. The content presented in this podcast is intended to entertain, educate, inspire, and support listeners in their personal and professional development and does not constitute business, financial, or legal advice. In addition to that, this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services.